Hello, vintage drum enthusiasts. Jim Messina here from VintageDrumsTalk.com. Say, I'm coming to you to answer a question that's been asked on the drumforum.org about yellowed white marine pearl, all right? This has been around for years and years in our vintage drum community. It's an age-old question. How do you get that yellow out of white marine pearl? Well, I have some examples right here in front of me from different eras, all having to do with yellowed white marine pearl. But the one drum that really sparked the whole question right now on this particular forum is this drum down here. This is a 1959 WFL Buddy Rich Classic, okay? It had been very yellowed, and as you can see, got a great result, right? Pretty white now. Here's some pictures of what it looked like beforehand. All right, as you can see, it was pretty yellow, and there was some what we call cancer spots. My earlier video that I did about this drum was, geez, probably 3-4 years ago, before I even had the vintage drum site, Vintage Drums Talk website. Okay, so I'm really surprised that kind of surfaced. It shows you that people are still finding the videos on YouTube. But this seems to be the one that has made this whole question resurface. I've actually been doing this method for many years now, okay? This drum right here is the very first drum that I tried this method on, all right? This happens to be a 1920s Ludwig & Ludwig, Super Ludwig, okay? White marine pearl. But, once again, it was very yellowed, and here's some pictures of this drum. Okay, it again yellowed, and you can see where the hoops have slid down because the head is not on there. That you can see the original color up here, and I had matched it pretty well. All right, but in this particular drum, different than the results here. Okay, we've got a drum from the 1920s here, and now up here we've got a drum from the 1940s. Okay, here's a Slingerland Radio King. Again, let's take a look at the before pictures of how this drum looked. Here they are. All right. Again, a yellowed mess, but all three of these drums had something in common. They had the unacceptable type of yellowed white marine pearl. Now, I have nothing against yellowed white marine pearl. It can really, actually, sometimes it's preferable to me on vintage drums, because it holds that vibe, that mystery about the drums, and it gives the drums character. When it's an evenly yellowed, mellow yellow, beautiful color, actually, I really prefer it on vintage drums. But when you've got drums that have spots, what we call the cancer spots, and brown splotches and unevenness, and this method can really help out. And it worked. I'm showing you this because it worked on a drum from 1920s, 40s, and this is a 1959. That's as far as I've gone, okay? I actually really haven't done any from 1930s drums, okay? But this just goes to show you that from the 1920s, they were using, and I pronounce it pyrrolin, that was the covering. Some people use the word pyrrolin, either or, tomato, I say pyrrolin. All right. The chemical makeup in pyrrolin very similar. Not much of a change from the 20s, and I'm assuming that the 30s were pretty much the same, because got the same results on 40s up to 1959. And again, who knows, maybe even into the 60s. I have not tried that yet, but I'm pretty sure that the new finishes today, the chemical makeup is different than it was back in the 20s and the 40s and the 30s. Not pyrrolin, it's more, I think it's vinyl based, okay? So there is a cutoff point where this method doesn't work. It doesn't touch it, to tell you the truth. But the whole premise behind getting this result has a lot to do with removing a layer, all right? Easier said than done. I mean, it's kind of a logical thing. Many people, it's been thought that, oh, once you get yellowed white marine pearl, that's all from UV damage, and it's all the way through the finish. As we can see here, not necessarily so. Now the thing is, I want to let you know that it's a very aggressive procedure, and you're probably all saying, why don't you just tell us, Jim? I've hesitated for many years, ever since I did this drum. You know, many years ago, a few people would see it and ask how I did it, and I would be very reluctant to give out that information because it is so easy to ruin a precious antique drum, okay? And that's why I was always very hesitant to let that information out. I didn't want to be the one telling people to do this and then have them ruin a drum, a very important piece. And, you know, that's just how I am about these drums. I want to see them all get saved. But now that attention has been drawn to this because of the video I did on this drum and the thread that was put on drumforum.org, I figure it's time, because that's a pretty public place. Before, some people would run across this on YouTube, and they might email me, and I could kind of help them out a little bit. But even then, I was very reluctant, and I would opt for, and this is also an aggressive approach, wet sanding. You know, you're taking sandpaper to this finish, okay? That's a more conventional way of doing it. Some of you out there, and many of us actually have tried that. You get some good results, but on very yellow damaged ones, like I showed you with these drums, doesn't work so well on those spots. But it can be done. It takes a lot of elbow grease, and you have to follow the steps. But that's not what you're here to find out, okay? You want to find out how I got such good results here. I'm going to let you know that it's an old technique. I'm surprised that some of the old timers here, I guess I'm older than I thought, because I've been doing this, again, probably for 10 years, 9 or 10 years on this drum. I've had this forever. But I'm also surprised that the answer was already posted right here on the drumforum.org. Okay, so some of you either missed it. I know of some people, I found the thread, and some people were commenting. They said, gosh, I don't know if I would try that. I've heard it works, and but I wouldn't want to be the one to experiment. And I don't blame anybody for not wanting to try this, or to be afraid to try this on your precious drum, because you can burn right through to the wood, okay? It can be very destructive, and it's very hard to teach you the method of doing this. I think someone on the thread said, gosh, I'd like to see a step-by-step video on how to do that. I could show you pictures. I could even do it on the video and show you, but there's no way to explain how much pressure to use when you do this. It's also extremely important knowing when to stop, all right? But you're still saying, come on, just tell us how to do it. What I would like to do is provide you with that same information that I had, okay, years ago. And the post that was already posted on drumforum.org here is the exact excerpt, okay? And I'm going to tell you, it was the article, and some of you may already know this and say, gosh, I didn't know that's what he was doing. I never tried it, but okay, maybe you will now, but you got to be careful. It's the method posted by Tom Keast, okay? Here's the exact thread that was posted on drumforum.org. And I tried to look it up, though. I tried to access it on the drum forum here, and the drum forum doesn't archive back far enough, okay? So I couldn't get it through the drum forum. It's just short. This was just in 2012, too, so some of you guys just missed it, I guess, or maybe you didn't believe that it would really work, but the heading is WFL 48 Ray McKinley Snare Drum Project dash before and after shots. And this thread was started by Carolina, 1964. And it was done April 2nd, 2012. All right? So the answer is already there for you in the exact form that I received it 10 years ago, okay? And I'm going to tell you, I think that some of you may not know this because it was originally published by John Aldridge in his Guide to Vintage Drums book. Most of us old timers, we have that book, okay? We've read it a million times. But it's just which ones of us had the nerve to try it, because it sounds like, oh, it's extremely dangerous, okay? You can go find that, and if you can't find it, if you can't access that thread the same way I couldn't, you can email me, okay? And I will give you, I'll just email it to you. But I want you to go to that thread, and I'm going to give it to you. And once again, if you can't access it, get a hold of me, email me. Here's my email, and I will email you the exact thread from drumforum.org, okay? And you'll see that article, the same one that I saw 9 or 10 years ago in John Aldridge's book, or get a hold of his book, okay? You'll see it there. But what you do, and I'm going to tell you the main ingredient, it's as simple as heck, but it's a lot is in the skill, the timing, pressure used, okay? Many of you will have this out in your garage, okay? You get some simple lacquer thinner. That's the magic potion. It's simple as that. Because the chemical makeup, and it'll say this in the article, the chemical makeup is very similar to that of the cellulose properties of pyrrolin from the 1920s, 30s, 40s, and 1950s, as we've seen here with this drum right here, 1959. All right? Now the thing is, again, I implore you to read the article and do what he tells you. But even then you can blow it. In fact, I would discourage you from trying this, because when you read the thread, you're going to see some of the answers there, and guys are going to be saying, gosh, I don't know if I'd want to try that on my drum, and I don't blame you at all. Timing is so important with this. And the thing is, you have to learn when you're rubbing this on. You're soaking a rag with lacquer thinner. You start on one panel, all right? And it's going to actually heat up the surface, all right? And you've got to know by the feel just how much pull, when you're actually removing a layer of this, the surface of the finish of your white marine pearl. Sounds crazy, doesn't it? But that's what you're doing. You do it, you look at your rag, you're going to get a yellow deposit. You have to keep going, and you have to really concentrate. No distractions, okay? Because you can blow it. If you leave it on too long, it's going to start to bubble up, it's going to start to wrinkle, and if you really leave it, if you just are absent-minded and walk away, it's going to burn right through, okay? Or just dissolve. Another thing is, when you're doing this, you can also create what we call a milking effect. Okay, that's important. You have to know when to stop. Okay, even if you're getting yellow, there's a point where you can milk the white marine pearl. And by that I mean you're going to take away the pearlescence, okay? And it'll end up looking like smeared white cortex, okay? That's it. When you're done when that happens. So this is why I've been so reluctant for 9 or 10 years here to actually spread this around too much. But again, now that you guys are being very inquisitive in a public venue like this drum forum, and when I did my own research and found out that it had already been posted, I figured, what the heck? I have nothing against sharing these techniques, really, because we're all in this together. But when it's something dangerous like that, I didn't want people making those mistakes because I told them to do something. But now if you go read that article, we can say we're using the Tom Keast method, okay? Because he's the one who actually put this out, and John Aldrich published it in his book. I guess I was just one of the few guys who had the nerve to try it, and these are the results. You can see excellent results. Another thing, and I'm glossing over a lot here, I'm telling you guys, be careful. If you think you're just going to pick up your drum and start wiping and it's going to be great, you got to do it. You got to know the right pressure and the type of cloth that you use. If you using like a cheesecloth or something like that, those marks will end up being imprinted in your white marine pearl, the pyrrolin, because it's going to be soft. You're chemically heating this up, okay, and removing a layer at a time. If you don't do it evenly, you're going to have unevenness, waves and everything. Plus, when you get near the badge, very difficult on, in fact, in the pictures, if I put them up again here, you'll see, you have to look really close. Might not show up in the pictures, you might not be able to tell, but around the badge, when you start getting close to the badge, you got to be careful. I taped it off, did it, but you can see a ghost, just a little ghostly image, just a little bit around the badge and maybe up around the edges sometimes. Plus, your arm gets really tired doing this. But guys, I'm telling you, I wouldn't blame you if you just ran for the hills on this one. This is almost one of those kind of, don't try this at home kind of things. Yes, we're getting good results here, but don't try this at home. You can try it. I tried it, and look what happened for me. But there's, as you can see, there's no reason to have yellowed white marine pearl anymore. It can be done. That's a myth that, you know, it can never be taken out. But is it worth it to take that risk? That's the thing. When you've got a valuable drum, man, you got to be careful. And I implore you to think it over before you try that. Or if you have some trashed piece of old 20s or 30s, 40s pyrrolin, practice on that. Get the feel of it. Know what you're doing before you do the real thing. Because I'd hate to be giving out information here and have a bunch of guys trying this and, you know, we lose drums. You know, I want to see these drums last. That's why I try to save them, but we got to be careful. So the sanding method, some guys would say, that's crazy too. What do you mean take sandpaper? It can work if you do the wet sanding and go through all the stages, starting with a heavier grit, maybe 150, 250 even, go all the way up to 1500 or more, then switch to liquid products, paste, you know, some of the Novus products work great, Meguiar's products, we can get into that later. But right now, you guys wanted to know the method that I'm doing to get these results on these drums. That's it. So remember, if you can't get to that thread on drumforum.org, once again, it's WFL 48 Ray McKinley Snare Drum Project, before and after shots. Okay? It was started by Caroline in 1964 on April 2nd, 2012. I tried to do it. The drum forum archive would not go back far enough. Almost, but not quite. But I found this, I don't know why it still exists, but I have it. If you want to email me, here's my email once again, and I will send you, I'll email you this, this exact link to get to this page. But my friends, you know, we're all brothers here, and we want to share good information. Again, I've been reluctant for years to share this. I implore you, please, if you're going to try this, practice first. Do not attack, you know, your favorite, you know, treasured drum, because you could easily destroy it. And once it's gone, it's gone. So, those of you who want to give it a shot, and if you can't find the information you need, give me a call, or I mean, shoot me an email and I'll get you that link. You'll have the same information that I got, which is basically what I told you. But again, it's that skill. There's so much skill involved with it, and I had to find that out on my own, but it's something you can't teach. It's really difficult. So, anyways, I hope this satisfies you and your questions about how to do this, how we did this, okay? This got these results. All right. So also, if you want to see the original video of this and this, they're over on the restorations page on vintagedrumstalk.com, which is my website. If you haven't seen me over there, it's about time a lot of you guys went over there. There's a lot of great stuff, great interviews with all the collectors that you know right here on drumforum.org. Bonnie Carlos, Mike Corrado, Mark Cooper, Harry Kangany even. I'm doing a lot of studio interviews with these guys. Very interesting. We did Roger North of the North Drum Company. Plus there's a million videos of me in my early days before I had the website talking about my own collection. There's a lot of videos from the Chicago Drum Show where we talked to a lot of collectors there. It's just a lot of fun. It's all video. That's kind of my thing. That's why I'm answering you here in video format. But you know, if you haven't seen me before, hello, and I hope we meet someday, maybe at the Chicago show, okay? Guys, it's been a pleasure. Take care, and once again, you never hide this from me, okay? Jim Messina, see you later.